So once you've got your webbing kind of taken out of your fingers, you can actually start to do some molding and some sculpting. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of get rid of some of these ridges and these kind of rough areas. And I'm going to do that all with the same brush we used before, just a robust, smooth brush. I'm going to use about the same size, about 45, and about strength of about 60. And just kind of smooth out these rough spots. These spots where it's clear that your hand actually wouldn't look like that. Some of these bumps on the fingers, some of these I'm going to smooth out. Not all of them, just a few. So kind of hold the mouse button down and kind of quickly move over an area to kind of smooth. You can see that surface smoothing out itself a bit. The fingertip, you can see it smoothed. You can see this fingertip is a little bit deformed because the scan that I had, the finger that I was scanning, was a little bit deformed. So we need to do a little bit of more work on that guy to kind of make it look a little more natural. So we kind of got rid of that club look for that finger, kind of fixed it up just by using this little smooth option. And we're just going to go around and kind of smooth everything all around to try to give us more natural looking fingers. Now everything's not going to look perfect, and we don't want everything to look perfect. If you look at your hand isn't perfect cylinders, perfect little circles. There's some organic kind of look to it. We want to try to maintain some of that organic look. What we do want to do, though, is kind of get rid of places where we see lots of blockiness. We don't really want blockiness coming through, or sharp lines coming through when we actually print this up. It's just little places where things are blocky. I'm doing quick clicks to smooth things over. Okay, and now we want to start kind of adding and carving in some features into this. So once you're kind of generally happy with the way your hand looks, we want to do some carving. And to do carving, we're going to go to Brushes. We're going to go down to Pinch. And to make this really make a big effect, I'm going to do a very high strength. I'm going to go up to 100, but I'm going to decrease my size and increase my depth up to the max depth that I can have. Kind of shrink this down. Size down to a small size. And I'm going to change the brush shape to kind of this little bumpy C, this kind of circular part, circular dome type of shape. Now I'm going to kind of carve across this, but I'm going to carve kind of quickly. So I'm going to kind of click and then drag to kind of start making some indentations. So where you have creases in your palms, you want to kind of make those a lot more distinct. So we're going to click and carve it. If you notice that your carving isn't quite getting deep enough, you can always increase the size of that carve so that you can actually start to see it. So we'll increase that size a little bit more. And we're getting a nice deep groove from my thumb. Okay, so that'll give you the idea of what it's going to look like. And when you're not happy with what it looks like, you can hit Control-Z to get rid of anything that you do. So that'll kind of take you back. We're just trying to carve in some kind of natural, organic kind of looking creases where you'd have it inside of a normal hand. So I kind of like to look at my actual hand too, to kind of see where those creases would be. And where we really want them more than anywhere else is going to be in the fingers. You can see in the scan they kind of come through. We just want to make them a bit more distinct. So when we do that, we can see that our fingers have a much more distinct, kind of more realistic look. And I'm just carving out those little lines. I don't want perfect lines across, because again, if you look at the lines across your fingers, they're not perfect. So I'm kind of doing some artistic license, which means every time you do this, your hand will look a little bit different. But that's kind of good. That means it's unique and it's custom to whoever you're making this hand for. You kind of look at your thumb and kind of get an idea of where the creases would be. Kind of draw your creases to make it kind of look a little more realistic. And maybe a little crease right there. Kind of zoom around to the back. And on the back of your hand you have a little bit of creasing, so maybe we do a couple little creases going along the back. What you notice is where you're doing this carving out, you're getting very deep dimples. We don't necessarily want those dimples. So let's go to our robust smooth, and we can increase the size of this. We can get rid of those dimples. So anywhere where you have dimples that you're not happy with, you kind of just use the robust smooth brush and you click until those dimples are gone. So maybe I didn't like all these features, maybe I don't want them quite so distinct. I can kind of smooth them out. So these dimples that are a little bit too big, bust smooth these out. What I'm doing here is creating a nice kind of natural looking hand, adding some features in just to make it look a little bit more realistic. So that crease was a little bit too deep. I'm going to use my robust smooth to decrease the size of that. And now our hand scan has gone from being very kind of plain looking and kind of normal looking, kind of idealized, to having a little bit of structure to it. I'm going to maybe move some of these creases so that they're not quite so distinct, not quite so deep. Just trying to make this look a little bit more natural. Now, the deeper you go with your creases, the more well they'll show up when you print. So you do want these creases to be a little bit deeper than you otherwise might think they should be, just to make it look a little more realistic once it actually prints out, so that these dimples, these creases actually do show up. The next thing that we're going to experiment, we're going to go back to our brushes, we're going to go to pinch, and we're going to see if we can perhaps get some kind of fingernail type of look in here. So you want our strength to be very high, we want our size to be a little bit smaller, and we're going to start to kind of carve in the shape for a fingernail. You can see that the brush size that I used was a bit off. Size was a little bit too big, and it completely mangled this finger, so it looks horrible now. So I can hit my Control-Z, go back, I can decrease my size, maybe decrease my strength a little bit, and then I can recarve. And that's much better. So I can keep carving in, and I'm kind of trying to carve in to get the look of a fingernail. And again, if you look at your fingernails, you'll notice they're not perfect, so we don't expect perfect fingernails. perfect shapes. We just want the general right idea. And we've got a fingernail. And I can do that across all of these fingers. The deeper you go, the more the fingernail will actually show up when you actually print this out. So I try to go a little bit deeper than otherwise you might be. You might think that you would go. And again, I have no formal art training, so I'm just kind of carving out what I think looks good. It's just tweaking and playing with the features inside of Meshmixer to kind of give this hand a slightly more natural look. And all of the things that I'm doing are based on feedback that we've gotten from the recipient that we're working with to actually develop this hand. So this is a 3D scan of an actual prosthetic that we're kind of trying to recreate the look of. And you notice we have maybe a little bit too many dimples in places. So that's where we go back to our robust smooth. And we can kind of get rid of some of those dimples by smoothing them out. And this will give you an idea of what our hand's going to look like when we actually print it.